If you do right, then you are righteous. And it's not right doing in your own strength, it's right doing in the strength of Jesus Christ. Never seen the righteous, those who do right by the strength of God. Never seen the righteous forsaken. In other words, I've never seen the righteous forlorn by the side of the road. Never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. In other words, if you're righteous, doing the right things according to God's word, then God will never leave you or forsake you. But the blessings that God blesses you with are not just for you. Your blessings will be for your children and your children's children. Not only will you be blessed by your righteous deeds and righteous doing, but you will also be blessed by your children and your children's children. Never seen the righteous forsaken, or his seed or her seed begging bread. Are you righteous today? Are you doing the right things before God? Can he bless you as well as bless your children? I've seen times where my parents haven't had much. I've told this story before, but it begs repetition. I remember one of the chores that I used to do at home, and I'd like to just say this as a caveat, that we must give our children chores to do at home. Oh yeah? Give them things to get them, you know, when I was on holiday, I remember one time, Nicky, when I was in Monique and I was at my grandparents' home on holiday. I want to make that clear. So where was I? On holiday. It was 5 o'clock in the morning and the cocks crow. And I heard along the corridor. My grandfather Charles, James Alexander Charles, if you please, walking along the corridor. I'm on holiday. He opens my bedroom door. Grandson, time to get up. I said, Granddad, what do you mean I'm on holiday? Get up out of your bed. So there I was at 5 o'clock in the morning, out of my bed to go move the cows and the goats and to clean the yard, and I'm on holiday. My grandfather didn't care whether I was on holiday or there to stay. You know, he said, you don't find the sun should not catch you in your bed. Go up and clean the chicken coop. All those things I had to do. Give your children chores to do. Can I hear you say amen? I don't want to hear amen from the children, but that's okay. So when your mother wakes you up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, there may be no chicken coop to go and clean, but there's hoovering to be done. And clothes will be put in the washroom, and then there's a washing machine. Even my son has to take off the things off his own bed at 5 years old. Isn't that right, son? Give them something to do. And then, you know, the things I remember when I was younger growing up, and I got a job, my first job, I was working for the Department of Education and Science, and I came home and I'd gone up to Oxford Street and Victoria and all this, and I bought some nice clothes, and I went home, and as I put the bags down, my mom came to me and said, where's the rent? I said, Mom, rent? I just got a job. She said, yes, pay me my rent. The housekeeping, you think you eat here for free? You live here for free? And so the next time when I got my pay back, I had to take out the rent, my tithe and offerings, goes hallelujah, and then give her the rent, the housekeeping. Enjoy if your children are working, let them pay housekeeping money. Hallelujah, can I just say amen? And so the fact is we need to ensure and instill in our young people that not only should they live in this life, but they must make a contribution. And so young people blame me if they take your housekeeping money. That's okay. But I know that as young people, as we're growing up, one of the things that I learned from my mother is that as she was allowing me to return my faithful tithe and offerings and pay my housekeeping, pay my way, when I was able to leave home, I'd already been instilled how to get by. So they could put aside money for the electricity, money for the gas, money for the TV license, money for I was able to budget. Because my mother had taught me when I was growing up. And I'm grateful to my grandfather, who died in 1989, for instilling in me that hard work has never ever killed anybody. And so he instilled in me, he was able to get to where he got in life by hard work. Hard work. I'd always remonstrate with my mom when she kept saying hard work never kill anybody, and I said, well, Mom, how comes the slaves died? She said to me, overwork. Never seen the righteous forsaken, seed begging bread. But we must understand that we need to be righteous in what God has allowed us to know and to live in this life. And God will provide for us. But our young people need to understand in providing, we need to provide for ourselves as well. There are several ways in which we can feel prosperous in these austere times. The first thing is, as I close, that we do not need to live within our means. We can't hang our basket higher than we can reach. We need to live within our means. In fact, one elderly gentleman, when I was presenting something at a church and I spoke about living within our means, he said, "Pastor, I have aught against you. We're not supposed to live within our means, we're supposed to live below our means." And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so not only should we live within our means, we must live below our means. If you if you want something, know the fact that if you want it, you need to save for it. My grandfather, I need to go back to him again because he's taught me so much in life. When I was there at the house meeting up on the hill Mount Joy, he said to me that I was studying, back in 1979, I was studying at the table. And he said, "Grandson," he was a very boastful man, Nicky will tell you. Very boastful. He said, "Grandson, that table that you're sitting on right now, I put the money for this house on that very table." He looked at the house, he saw the house from the road when he was going to his drive fields, and he looked up, saw the house and the lady was selling it, and he went up and he said, "How much do you want for it?" He bargained her to a price. Went down to his house there in Devon where he was living at the time and went to his wardrobe. That's where he kept his money. An old mahogany wardrobe. We all knew his grandchildren where to find his money, but if he caught us stealing his money, he would tear out anyway. But anyhow, so he went to that wardrobe, got out his money, put it in a suitcase, went up the hill, put it on that table that I was there studying for my GCSEs at the time, and asked the lady when was she going to move out. He was just very audacious, but that was him. But the fact is, he taught me a principle. You save up for the best things in life that you want. It's called deferred gratification. If you can't afford it now, save up for it. Many of us want to break the budget in order to get the things that we want. Many of us want to get the things that other people have. We want to keep up with the proverbial Mr. and Mrs. Jones. But you don't know where Mr. and Mrs. Jones got what they got from. It could have been left to them in a will. They could have stolen it. They could have borrowed it. They could have bought it in a charity shop. But you like some don't have a mind of your own, want to keep up with them, go and buy the Prada suit from Prada and pay the extortionate price because you want to be like Mr. and Mrs. Jones. But you need to stick to the budget that you have in for your household. Live, as the old man said to me, below your means. That's the first thing, in order for you to be prosperous in these austere times. Secondly, we need to pay off our debts. Many of us are in debt. You know what Ellen White says in the book Adventist Home, page 392? She says these words, "Debt is a snare that Satan sets for the soul." She said there are many of us are vexed because we cannot concentrate even on the service because we have debt. Cannot even come into church on Sabbath and worship God in spirit and in truth because we have debt and bills to pay. Ellen White says it's a snare that Satan sets for the soul. And many of our young people are getting themselves into debt before they even reach their early 20s. And I see it. Because they come to me and they say, "Pastor, we want to get married." So here's my question to them. And they always look at me in a strange way. I say, "Well, how much money do you have in order to get married? Show me the money." And they say, "Well, Pastor, what do you mean we love each other?" I said, "Well, don't pay bills." "Pastor, we're in love." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, you know what? If you're in debt now, it's till debt do you part." So I asked them, "How much do you have?" My grandfather would always say, when you want to marry his daughter, he would always say to the man who would be a suitor for his daughter, "State your business. What do you have?" So I asked the young people, "What do you have?" And many of our young people are coming. They want to get married, but they come to the table with debt. Some people are coming with £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 worth of debt in their teenage or early 20s because they've not learned the lessons. If you can't afford it, you don't buy it. You make do with what you have. Even if you're out of fashion, make do with what you have. There are many of us who want to spend money on their credit card, and I'm determined. When I got my credit card, it's like we bought a house, my wife and I. In fact, when I say we bought a house, we have a house, but if we default on the payment of the mortgage, it will go back to the bank, so it doesn't even belong to us. But I remember when I got a house and said, well, listen, I think I need to take out some added security, so let me apply for a credit card. And I applied for a credit card, Pastor Jones Larty, and I put my full title down. And so when they saw Dr. Richard DeLisser, they said, well, he must have money. They didn't know I was a poor Adventist preacher. But, you know, we don't get a fantastic wage, a grand wage. All we get is blessed by the Lord. And it's from the graciousness of members of the church like Holborn Road. We're paid from the tithe of the members of the church, so we thank you for your faithfulness. But I got this card as an added security just in case. But the credit card limit on this card, I will not tell you now because you'll think that I have money. Brother, I'm not telling you. But it's interesting because on this card there are two circles, an orange and a red circle, and across emblazoned is MasterCard. But I was determined I got this card that this will not have mastery over me. Why? Because the new slavery of the 21st century is debt. As soon as you start spending on this card, you are in debt. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was reading the Sunday Times, and a young man got himself into debt to the tune of £3,000 on a credit card. You know what the company wanted to do? Repossess his house for £3,000. £3,000. Debt is the new slavery of the 21st century. Stay out of debt as best as possible. And if you're in debt, pay off your debts quickly. Pay off your debts quickly. The third thing is, in order for us to be prosperous in these economic times, is that we need to oftentimes change the way that we do our business. When I say business, in other words, in this day and time, the shops that are increasing in terms of opening up. In fact, in my area, within a space of a mile and a half, less than a mile and a half, 2 of the discount food retailers have opened up shops. Many of us may need to change our eating habits in order to be prosperous in these austere times. So if you can't afford Tesco's Finest, buy Tesco's Value. Hello, somebody. Oh, I know you want to too proud. And I'm not proud. You know, confession is good for the soul, but not for your reputation. But I don't care about my reputation right now. The fact is, if I can't afford Tesco's Finest, I go and buy Lidl's Greatest. Listen, I'm not spending. Listen, if I can get it cheaper somewhere else, I'm going to get it cheaper. Hello, somebody. I need to understand. I need to ensure that I'm within my budget. I need to make sure that I can make ends meet. I've got a wife and son to feed as well as myself. And so therefore, I don't care whether I shop at Lidl's or the pound store. It don't matter to me. I'm making ends meet. Hello, somebody. I'm not too proud. I may wear a suit and a tie and everything else, but the fact is that I must make ends meet. I'm not going to go and spend money and say, well, because I want to be seen to be buying Tesco's Finest or going into Waitrose and all these other stores and taking my money. No, I'm going to make sure that I buy things, and the same thing I get at Lidl's is the same that is going in my mouth and I'm enjoying it, and it will increase my nutrition, etc., etc. And I'm saving money in the bank. Can you say amen? Yeah. So don't be proud. Someone thinks to change our eating habits. And there are many of us who go to Tesco and these other stores, and we go every single week. And we're buying things every single week. One thing I've learned is that I've learned to bulk buy. It's cheaper to bulk buy. And in fact, you are members of the church as a community, you can bulk buy together. If we were truly brothers and sisters, we could bulk buy together on the staple things that we need. Soap powder, rice, and all these things. Come together and say, okay, members, let's come together, let's buy together so we can save and be prosperous in these austere times. Can I hear you say amen? And so we can live within our budget, pay off our debt, change our eating habits and buy in bulk. We need to also cut down on our waste.